Here's what police are saying about David. He had this inappropriate relationship with Nicole. Nicole planned to expose it. He stabbed her to death. He killed her the same day she went missing. Now, Cheryl, in just a minute, you've been through some traumatic experiences, not far off from this. Thank God didn't end up like this. You're going to tell us your story in a few minutes, but now you speak around the country about having been abducted, raped, left for dead. What's your reaction to the story?
Well, it's understandable that she went with them from her perspective. If you look at her life and what she'd endured,
which was she had a liver transplant as a young age for a tumor. She had non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. She had tracheostomies. She'd had chemotherapy, and she had scars, and she felt bad about herself.
She had scars. She felt different. And here's somebody who's telling her she's special. She's beautiful. He can make her dreams come true, in essence. And so why wouldn't she go with him in one regard?
In this young man, this David Eisenhower, we saw him talking about his career as a young track star in high school. He seemed like another high school kid.
He seems like a normal guy. No telltale signs that, oh, this guy is going to be a psychopath. This guy's going to be a murderer. And similarly, the men who took me when I was in France, he was charismatic, the ringleader. He was walking by shops and waving, and people were saying hello, and I thought, in the absence of any other, verification of who he was, I thought, oh, people like him. He seems cool. They know him.
How old were you?
It was 18.
And what happened?
He had a camera around his neck and approached me and said, are you a model? I can make you one. And I kind of felt he was a little creepy in a way, like this isn't a good idea, I know better, but I went. I'm from a small town. I thought it would get me into living in the big city, and you can kind of fill in the details with your mind, but they held me at an abandoned construction site. He beat me mercilessly and everything you can imagine, and eventually dumped me and left me for dead. And then one of them chased me, and I ran for my life.
Was this happen over hours or days?
It happened over days.
It just sounds unsurvivable. How did you survive it?
Well, at the time, I was 18, and I thought the way to survive it was to pretend it didn't happen. I didn't know any better. I'd never encountered anything difficult, so I pretended it didn't happen.
When it was happening, how did you survive it?
I looked away for most of the time. I saw a dancing spark of light on the wall and thought, whatever's making that is free. And if I could look at it hard enough, I could merge into it and become that. This is the mind of a teenager who'd been drugged, And so I just stared at it with all my might and thought I could merge into that and become that. And it was
be out of body.
Be out of body.
Yeah.
Really, I just did that.
Do you remember it all? Or is
I remember
so
parts of it. I
out?
remember lying in my own urine, on a cement floor. I remember this. I remember pain.
It's a very typical description. I mean, you had a little creative twist on it in terms of what you imagined, but it's people see themselves, they're out of body, they shut down and go to another place. It's called dissociation. It's how people survive the unsurvivable. And it's your body preparing for the worst.
I can't believe you're sitting here telling that story. I mean, God bless you. I can't believe you're standing and functioning and telling it. But I'm amazed by you.
At least I got to stop you.
I'm amazed.
I got to stop you. What Cheryl went through is unspeakable, horrible. What the 3-year-old went through, we were talking about at the beginning of the story, won't even be able to articulate. There will be a silent scream in her head all the time for the rest of her life.
And I have no idea what that would be like. I know my own experience, and I know all of the people that I've worked with. But one thing I know is that it is possible to get to the other side.
And that's why it's so important that you're telling your story, because often we only see the kid in the closet in the bag, and we never hear anything beyond that.
Right.
But to know that you are sitting here.
See, Kurt wants to go kill all these guys.
And you're absolutely right. And it's not vengeance. It's justice. Justice has to be done. We all have to take a personal interest in protecting each other. And when somebody gets out of line in such a grievous way, society cries out for justice.
Kurt, it's weird. I agree with you. I identify with the feeling. I don't think it would help Cheryl.
No, it's not. I'm sorry. It's not to help Cheryl.
Blood. Something like this happens that's so unconscionable that we can't even wrap our heads around it. A 3-year-old, no. We just cry out collectively for blood. But the problem is, a guilty verdict even and all of that never brings peace.
But
it never, you can't unring a bell. Now that this is here, then what? So there's, yes, pursue justice without question. Those guys need to be off the street. And then there's the road to recovery, whatever that looks like.